Hello and welcome to today's video. We're going to go over damage shares across the four major regions of LOL Esports. If you've missed a video I did a week and a half ago or so, I'll put it at the end of this video about gold shares. We're trying to determine where our teams giving their gold. How are they spreading it out, if you will. Who is getting what piece of the pie? And we compared the teams to figure out who are getting the resources to see, are they carrying, are they not, and the differences within the teams based on that. Now, for this, we're going to look at damage. So in the end, what's the output like for these teams? Who is dealing the damage? Who is expected to be more of a utility role or weak side player? And we know that a lot of this can be assumed. We just know, and some are not going to be a shock when we go over it. But then there's going to be some moments where you're going to be like, wow, that team, that's how they spread out their goal damage. That's interesting. So in the Discord on the extra content tab, you're going to find that I posted the numbers, so it's easier to read because obviously there's a lot of crap on this board and you can't really read it. So we're going to go over the outliers and just discuss it a bit. So in top lane, it ranged from 19.2% for IG all the way to 26.7% for Dignitas. That's a wide range, right? So we're looking at 19%, a third tier carry role. I'm sure if we went through IG here, what do we have here? Yeah, I mean, so there's a trade-off, right? We said this in the gold video, but if you missed it, somewhere this pie, somebody's getting a bigger piece of the pie than other roles. If IG are way at the end there and in the middle here, then somewhere the gold has to be made up. The damage has to be made up. And in that case, it is in the jungle. With Leon and even when you include Tianzen's numbers in there, the IG junglers combined were top 5 in damage share. So IG last at 19.2 with YSKM for the most part. Thunder Talk, Hoya, more of a weak side player. I do not look at Hoya as a carry-oriented top laner. BDS, Adam. Yes, Adam deals some of the least damage share in the four major regions. A lot of people would be surprised by that. We see Oscarinin as well, tied down there, and Rascal for DRX. Just players that aren't dealing a big chunk of their team's damage. And we look at some of those players, in the case of Adam and Rascal, YSKM, Oscarinin, as not necessarily facilitators or weak side players, but they are. They're not really just dealing damage. At the far end, Dignitas, 26.7, that's rich. And then you have Mirwin at 26% in second place. Mirwin is as much of a carry as anybody on Mad Lions Koi. Honestly, looking at this, I mean, you have Supa here, and Frez way down there, right? So, third, we have Odoamne. Yes, Odoamne is above 25% of his team's damage share, which is actually pretty incredible because Odo should be a facilitator top laner, in my opinion. He is not a carry. So if that is the result, that just kind of goes to show you how screwed Giants X really are in the way that they're playing. And then SK with Irrelevant is next. RNG. So let's just look at these top 5 teams. None of them are excelling. Now, this includes stats for the LEC from winter. Mad Lions Koi were good then, and then in spring have kind of taken a step back. But nobody up there are those teams that you're going to be like, wow, that's a world's contending team. We're not seeing an Eastern team up there. Out of the top 4, when we get to 5th, it's RNG. So RNG are the top Eastern team when it comes to damage share in the top lane for Breathe. Then it's 369 and Damwon Kia. So top esports, 369, Damwon Kia Kingen, LGD Birdall. In the range above 24%. And then at 24%, T1 Zeus Rogue with Finn and Sisgenda. That's a hybrid combined. Weibo, ZDZ, and HLE Doran. So it's kind of funny when you really look at it. It's very spread out there, and you see the bulk of the teams all on top of each other. So it's safe to assume the real true outliers of this all are these teams up here, Giant X, Mad Lions Koi, and Dignitas. Those 3 Very different than the rest when it comes to their damage chart in damage pie. In the jungle, the lowest by far, Lucid, Damwon, Kia, D plus Kia, at 10.3%. Very low. Very, very low. Lucid, in my opinion, is more of a carry-oriented jungler in his time in Challengers, but has not been given that opportunity in the LCK. And one could say, I'm saying in even the Discord today, I think that that's probably good for him in spring to give him more facilitator champs, even if it's not going to give the team the most success because it's the long game with a player that's 17 years old, a rookie, not necessarily let's coddle them, give them whatever they want, and then not let them get better at champions that you may need down the road as options. And then at the far end over here, at 17.8%, we have Bo. That is not a shock, really, to see Bo up there because he is a heavy damage dealer, and KC aren't very good. So the fact of the matter is, Bo is going to be the aggressive one getting damage out. Because Cabo is way down here, just above 20% there. And Seiken is well, he's in a good spot, I guess. KC. So it's upset in Cabo that are giving up damage, not dealing as much damage, and why Bo is getting a large piece of the pie. Followed by Monkey for the most part with EDG. JJ played 16 games as well, so that hybrid there above 17%. IG, like I said, third, Layan and Tianzhen. FPX at 17%, Milky Way. JDG are next with Kanavi. And then the next Western team we get is C9 at 15.8%. So the top two Western teams are KC, and then you got to go several before you get to Cloud9, who are actually tied with Thundertalk and Bechuan. So a lot of LPL teams at the top there, right? So LPL carry-oriented junglers that we historically I've thought of in that way in Bechuan, Layan, Kanavi, and now Monkey's given an opportunity, so we're seeing him at this highest level, and Milky Way as well, two rookies that honestly, Monkey's not on as good of a team and in as good of a situation, so who knows how good Monkey could be if he was given a better environment. Let's go back to the lower ones, though, because Dignitas are down there at 11.2%, so XU is the one that's not dealing as much damage because Rich is way up there. HLE Peanut, T1 Owner, and World Elite Hang. So those 5 teams are the ones that are the lowest. SK with Isma. When we look at Isma's champion pool, it does scream facilitator. Hung is playing facilitator-oriented champions for Team Wii. Owner, I honestly was surprised to see him there because Zeus isn't extremely high either. He's there in the top 10, but he's not way over here, right? And I mean, where is that damage coming from that's offsetting it? And we see way down here at support, which we'll get to last, way in the corner, is Y. In the mid lane, lowest by far, Shopify Rebellion, Insanity. Insanity's playing crazy stuff in mid lane, and a lot of it's facilitator oriented. A lot of it is what you'd consider to be really out of the box and out of the meta. So he's only at 23.1%. Frescowi, the second lowest, with Mad Lions Koi at 23.5%. Yagao with JDG. Vitality, Vethio, which is a shock. Given how good Vethio is, it's really disappointing to see him not dealing damage, to be quite honest with you. Dignitas with Dove, and then FPX with Care are all at the lower end, and it's not a big shock, right? So Digger up here on the far right in the top lane, as well as Mad Lions Koi. Now at the far end for mid lane, so who has the most damage in mid? It's Mask for Immortals at 31.8%. He is way over here leading the way, followed by Fofo and Rookie. So Fofo actually had the second highest damage share amongst mid laners in the 4 major regions at this point. And a lot of people don't give Fofo enough credit. I know Azir and this and that, but the fact of the matter is everybody could play Azir. Some choose not to, but any of them could be playing it. Fofo has a nasty Azir. He had it before it was crazy buffed this year. So the fact of the matter is, Fofo is second. Rookie, 31% for Ninja and Pajamas. A lot of people trying to tell me that Rookie was not playing well this past split. I think that's kind of silly. I think he played fine. Very well. He was my first team All-Pro statistically. And the fact of the matter is, this is a case in point at 31%. He is dealing the bulk of the load for Nip. Shanji's way over there. We've got Aki in the middle here, and Fodic here. So who's dealing the damage? Who's really making things happen relative to the role? It is Rookie. Now we can pick, this moment here, that moment here, where he kind of left a little bit to be desired, and maybe he's not exactly as good as he was when he was with IG when he won Worlds. But then again, you are looking at a player that is just not as good as the best player in the world at their role, and comparing him to Rookie of 2018 would be comparing him to best in role. He's not the best in role anymore. But he performed statistically like the best LPL mid because he got shit done. And other mid laners simply just were not doing it, as you can see here. Humanoid next, Yukai for Ultra Prime. He was kind of the only one getting anything done for them. Bulldog, Shanks, KDF, anyone's legend up there. Let's see. SK and TL are the next two Eastern teams. They are both above almost 30% in the case of Niski and APA. In the case of these guys, honestly, when I think about it, these upper tier, outside of Niski, I would say that all of them are carry-oriented mids. APA plays high DPM mid laners at his best. And although Niski's a facilitator, he does get involved a lot, so he's just going to deal a lot of damage because of that anyways. In the bot lane, the lowest at 23.6%, Duckdom. Duckdom played a lot of different champions. Not a shock to see him at the lowest end. Not to mention when you have Milky Way eating up so much damage that the pie can only be split so many ways. So, in the case of mid and bot, they are suffering. Support, not so much, as we see Lifeway over here. But KDF, so Bull, Taeyun combined, 23.8%. Rogue, very low, below 25% for comp. EDG, so that's Leave, the Snake, and I think there was another one that may have played in this AD carry role, 25%. KC, Upset, very low, and then Guma with T1, but that's not a shock as well. So we look at T1 and FPX here with very low damage shares out of their 80 carries. Now, support, so we'll combine this for a moment. Carria is way over here at 13.3%. I actually had to bring my board over for both he and Teddy for DRX. So, combining that's what? 25.5 plus 13.3, 38.8% of the team's damage is coming from the bot lane, which is fine. But just seeing how it's spread out, right? You're seeing a lot of Senna bot lanes for T1. And Carria, of course, is going to be playing the crazy stuff that makes me like him as a player to deal damage. High damage share in the 80 carry role. Very interesting. The top four teams you would not say are very good. So DRX, Teddy, over 32%. He is hard carrying for DRX, and relative to his role is very high. Followed by Bvoy with Shopify Rebellion, above 31%. And that's because the other carry role, in the case of Insanity, is just not showing up. NRG, above 31%. FBI played a lot of Smolder. And then Nongshim, Jiwoo, at 31%. The first elite team, you could say, is Elk with BLG, 30.5%. Able, Starry Hybrid, Viper, Gala, 1XN, funny enough. So 1XN sits himself in there. So Gala, 1XN, Ruler, Deft, all very high in damage share. So the very highest bot laners, not necessarily on the best of teams, but then you have a group after that it's like, okay, this is more of what we should expect in this current meta and the meta that we've seen throughout the year thus far. 80 carries dealing about, the best are dealing about 30% or so. Now support, You have very few teams way over here. Like I said, Caria above 13%, followed by Life at 12.5%, and then Busio for FlyQuest at about 11.8%. So those three teams you could very well see at World, MSI and or Worlds. FlyQuest already in. And then you have KDF. So Ondel and Quantum combined, dealing a lot of damage, above 10.5%. Heretics, Trimby, as well as Kaiser combined, a good amount. Barrel, I mean, that's not shock, right? Barrel being very aggressive. Hillesung, very aggressive. Zazel, a surprise up there. But the other ones, I mean, honestly, you really think about it. Caria, aggressive. Life, aggressive. And Inter. Buzio, young player, aggressive. KDF, so Ondel Quantum, KDF kind of maybe just not dealing any damage elsewhere to result in this. Trimby, Kaiser, solid supports. Barrel, and then Hilly. I mean, Barrel and Hilly are also Inters, just like Life, but Barrel, of course, has won Worlds a couple times, and Hilly has had good runs at international events as well. And then way down here, you have most of the supports, right? So this is not a big shock to see all these supports over here, because this is what supports do. They don't deal a lot of damage. They're not picking crazy things in the bot lane, and that's usually the result. So, like, Zhuo and Peter are both at 7.1% for Nip and Nongshim, followed by DOS with SK, Vampire with EDG, Delight, Lehens, both at 7.3%. So you see the opposite end of the spectrum, right? Delight and Lehens are both elite supports as well, just like Caria is. And the difference in damage share is huge. And these teams are all very good at the top level of the LCK. It's not like there is a gap between them. In all seriousness, understand that, yes, this team may beat that team, but I think any given day, it is not a shock for any of those teams to beat each other, at least in my opinion. But then again, I go into a lot of these matches with an open mind and not necessarily, allow for narratives to creep in as to why, a team is outright going to beat another team in the case of the very elite like that. So, yeah, like I said, a lot of this is just everybody combined. If you look at the Discord, you're going to see, like I said, that extra content tab that the damage shares are all there for you to look at. If you couldn't follow along, it's easy. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, like it. Subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.